Hello everyone, my name is Sam.
And I'm Jacob, and welcome to Geeking Out About It.
We're continuing this celebration, and this time we are talking about The Mandalorian. Now, I love this show. It is a fantastic show. It is a live action show that came in while we've been talking about the animated shows that have been in, like the Clone Wars and Rebels. This show came out on Disney Plus, and it is fantastic.
It is incredible. I love every second of it. And I remember the second it came out, we sat down in the living room together, we pulled up Disney Plus, and we watched every episode when it came out because it is so well done. Like, the mix of genres, because there's obviously the Star Wars genre, which
Star Wars is basically a genre now.
Yeah, it has its own kind of set of
like Marvel movies are a genre.
Yeah, and the way that it's made. But then it has this really beautifully woven in element of like a Western. It has this beautiful music that always is playing in the background, and that theme, that motif that we hear, and just the sound design is so well done, along with the cinematography and some of the sound stages that they have for the sets really do make the scenes in The Mandalorian breathtaking.
Yeah, and there's an important thing to consider when we talk about The Mandalorian. It's that The Mandalorian came at a very particular time where it was at a time where Star Wars fans were divided. There was the Last Jedi debacle, and then the boycotting of Solo, and it kind of left people kind of not as hopeful for the Star Wars universe. And it's before the Rise of Skywalker came out. So The Mandalorian came in with the launch of Disney Plus, which was in November. And, you know, it's at a very particular time. And it came in basically to save the day. And when it came out, it was like the thing that Star Wars fans needed. You know, everyone rallied to just a baby version of Yoda, of his species, you know. Adorable, by the way, and it's totally worthy of that.
Absolutely, and I think you can see the impact of that because Baby Yoda took the internet by storm. Like, it only took a couple of weeks after we see Baby Yoda appear in the series for that meme to be everywhere.
Yeah. So if you didn't watch the first episode when it came out, it got spoiled for you that there's a Baby Yoda. What I'm amazed by is that the team working with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian was able to keep Baby Yoda a secret for as long as they did.
Yeah,
they did no merchandising. They didn't release anything for The Mandalorian in an effort to make sure that this thing was like secret and locked down. And they succeeded in that objective. And man, it was shocking to see Baby Yoda, I will say. Watching that day one, it was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, and that is adorable.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of incredible that, you know, they're pulling in this new species. I mean, it's not a new species.
Well, it's a species we're very familiar with, but,
but we don't know their name. We don't know the species' name. We know very little about them. All we know is that they're very, very in tune with the Force, and they have a strong sense of it. And, you know, that is displayed in the series with Baby Yoda, or the child, as they call it. But it's kind of interesting to watch that evolve and to see more and more of that, you know, the child develop its own character, even though it's, you know, an infant.
I think what was also important, I'm just going to start like kind of hitting the things that we've mentioned a little bit before, was that while The Mandalorian came at a very particular time and it gave us Baby Yoda and all this really interesting stuff that was very nicely interwoven with each other, it is like a very unique story for Star Wars. It's not something that we have seen directly for, because it's about that kind of gray. It's in the field of gray, and it very strongly ties in with those Western themes. Like, you're watching a John Wayne movie and you get probably a similar vibe, especially while watching The Mandalorian, the pilot episode of The Mandalorian, the episode titled The Mandalorian, with the Bronco scene and all the kind of stuff of like tame the beast and go to the gun shootout with your buddy who's also there. You know, it very much ties into those themes, and it was unique and interesting. Like, every episode there was something that was really engaging. Like, it didn't matter if it was episode 4, which was the Sanctuary, which is very much like a Magnificent 7, let's teach the people how to fight, you know, that kind of thing. Or if it was the episode 3 where the gunslinger gets a conscience and goes back, you know, there's a lot of fun stuff that happens in The Mandalorian. I think the one that steps the furthest away from being a Western is probably the 6th episode, which is more of a heist movie, but all of them have that kind of undertone no matter what, even through just the score. for the series.
I think part of it is the planets that they're showing as well, because they do travel to different planets in the series, and it's the feel that you get, and it's kind of this desolate. It's not super built up. You're not traveling to huge cities, and especially when we talk about the Mandalorian, or Din Djarin is his name.
Yes.
The character development there, he's a very strong character. And there isn't a ton of speaking in the Mandalorian. Like there are definitely lines between characters, but so much of the development is portrayed in the actions of the characters and in the set. And I think that is part of the power of it, that they don't just rely on words.
Yeah, the coolest thing probably that I would say about The Mandalorian is the fact that it does play to the darkness of like what it probably is to be a bounty hunter. Like the first thing that we see this character do, Din Djarin, is he walks into a bar, doesn't say anything, and then just some guys come up and they start like kind of going at him just for wearing Mandalorian armor.
Right.
And then he turns without skipping a beat and decimates all of them and cuts a dude in half with a door. That was so cool, and it set the stakes up for what we're about to see. And it really pays off through every episode. You see like this guy who has a moral conscience, but he is a bounty hunter. And it's really cool, and I absolutely love the series for that.
Yeah, and speaking of the series, now that they have finished the first season, a while ago, we need to talk about the last episode.
Yeah,
there were some things revealed in the last episode, and here's some spoiler warning for you. If you haven't seen all the episodes, go back and watch them. They are worth every moment of watching.
Yeah. But what we need to talk about is how Moff Gideon got the Dark Saber, because wow, like him coming out of the TIE fighter, carving his way out with the Dark Saber, that was a really shocking thing, and it's really. You gotta consider everything that we're talking about, because we've been talking a lot about the Clone Wars and Rebels, of all the stuff that they added, and one of the things that was in Rebels was like kind of this and the Clone Wars, throughout all of it, is that Mandalore, basically this Dark Saber can represent like you're the leader, the true leader of Mandalore if you wield this thing, and you have the power to unite the clans with this saber.
It's a very powerful weapon.
So to see an Imperial like Moff have this thing means that Bo-Katan's dead, probably. Like, we probably not seeing her again. She's a leader of Mandalore in the end of Rebels, and so we have to just consider like it probably was taken away during the Thousand Tears, like the Moff Gideon was describing, and it's really interesting. I want to know what's going to happen, because we've been getting a lot of news recently about the Mandalorian and like kind of the things that are getting in there, and we're getting hints of like maybe Ahsoka's gonna be in season 2. I hope so, because I love Ahsoka, as I've been saying. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to finding out what continues to go on in this story and seeing what kind of themes they're gonna go for next time. I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, I'm also interested in finding out more about Yoda's species.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping in season 2 we start to understand a little bit more about them, because he was tasked with finding the child's home planet, or at least his people. Din Djarin was, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that character development goes between him and the child, and where they decide to take that, and how far that is going to go into the Mandalorian. Like, I have to wonder how much of the entire Mandalorian script this relationship takes up, or if it runs through the entire thing.
Yeah, and another interesting thing that kind of plays into it is that now, like, another thing is that the Mandalorian and the child are a tribe of their own now.
Right.
They're described as a tribe of 2 now, a signet of the Mudhorn, just through that bond, and so that kind of way going to it, and him kind of stepping away from his old tribe, which had some interesting customs, most likely due to Moff Gideon having the Dark Saber and all that kind of stuff, where how this is the way, they don't remove their helmets or anything like that. Just blatantly, that hasn't been a thing in the past. There hasn't been like Mandalorians that don't remove the helmets, but I'm assuming that they keep it on, because after an event like the Thousand Tears, where all the Mandalorians get slaughtered by the Imperials, and I wouldn't want to take off my helmet either, because you don't want your head getting blown off, or them to know what your face is, or anything like that, or your true name. So I think that's interesting, and I wonder how the Mandalorian's gonna like train up Baby Yoda almost, but yeah.
Yeah, and one last point is I think them adding in, for script reasons, not taking off your helmet adds a very interesting character design.
It's cool.
And it adds mystery and intrigue and really draws you in and makes you kind of wonder a little bit more about, the people behind the masks, like who they are and how they're doing. Because we rely so much on
I want to know what the clan leader looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, you could always go look and Google the actors yourself to see what they look like ahead of time. But unfortunately, that is all the time that we have to talk about The Mandalorian in today's episode. We're going to continue on the celebration, so make sure you watch those as it comes along. We will see you guys in the next one.